Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Axel and Friends podcast. My name is Axel Blaze, back for the 2021 edition of the Spooktober run of podcasts, where I talk about some spooky stuff for the season. And to kick things off for this season, talking about something that's not anime, not manga, but something that definitely shaped me, and I know a lot of other people's childhoods and whatnot, and wouldn't be Halloween without talking about them. In this week's episode of the podcast, in the first episode of Spooktober 2021, we're going to be talking about the Cartoon Network Halloween specials from back in the cartoons era of the network. And in today's podcast, I actually have two guests with me, which is a first for the Axel and Friends podcast. Haven't had a multi-person thing in quite some time, so I'm very excited for this. So first on the podcast, joining us for the first time, we've got Drew from CA Analysis. Drew, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you having me. I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to have you here too. Happy to have multiple people on to talk about this. And as for our other guests, we also have Edenz. Oh my gosh. This is going to be a long podcast. I'm already fumbling. Edenz, welcome to the podcast and welcome to the channel as well.
Thank you for having me, bro. I'm excited to talk about this.
Oh my gosh. We are in for a long night, dear God. So
No worries.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this, because like I said, at least for me, and I'm aware I'm old. I'm a '90s child, so I grew up in like the heyday of the cartoons era of Cartoon Network. But that was just an amazing time for cartoons in general. But just like the Halloween specials from back during that time were just, I mean, like the name suggests, they were just special. I don't know about you guys, but like it was amazing time to be alive.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of like that that meme or that joke that went around on Twitter for a while. It was like you just had to be there.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. Like if you weren't there to experience them firsthand, like not that you can't experience them now, which I thankfully have information on that for later, but like it just growing up with it hit different than like if you just experienced it now.
Word.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I did not experience them firsthand. That's tough.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you that you didn't, but I'm
Man.
glad that you did get to experience them at least later on.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like it's just that time was so interesting because like again the Halloween specials aside, the cartoons era of Cartoon Network was just fantastic. I mean, like you had that was when like the Hanna-Barbera studio had like all of these original cartoons, past like their original era of Hanna-Barbera, so like the second coming of them, and just amazing talent across the board, that would go on to inspire like other creators later on. And like at the same time too, that was like also the heyday for like Nickelodeon too. Like Nickelodeon animation at the time was amazing. I mean, in my personal opinion, Cartoon Network still edged them out. But and like Disney too had some decent stuff.
Yeah.
But like Cartoon Network back in the late 90s, early 2000s was just a magical time for television. Just I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And like getting to experience like new cartoons happening for the first time too, because Cartoon Network made events of that stuff. Like they made events of like the debuts of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, the debut of Codename Kid Next Door, just so many great shows in general. And like they had this the connected universe too.
Yes, I knew he was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
The you mean like the crossovers and stuff like that?
Yes, like the fact that
Crazy.
like they had crossovers between different properties. The fact that they had like the advertisement bumpers between like breaks in the show and like breaks between show to show. They had this entire Cartoon Network city inhabited by all the different Cartoon Network characters, and it was so cool, like seeing them live like this day-to-day life with each other. Like the fact that like Samurai Jack went to the same laundromat as like Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, and his gi got turned pink because she threw in her dresses in the same wash. The fact that like people would run into each other in like the parking lots, that they would sit down in this giant movie theater together. And on top of that, like for Cartoon Fridays, they had the different voice actors for various cartoons announcing the lineups for that night, announcing what was happening in certain like cartoons. It was very immersive, and just it was so different compared to like what we have now. Like Nickelodeon
Absolutely.
attempted that too, like on like the Christmas side of things. Like like Nickelodeon had like these stop motion Christmas special, like with like the different characters and whatnot, but it was never at the same level of
Yeah.
Cartoon Network.
Can I add something to that as well, Axel? Since
Yes.
okay, so since the theme of this is also like Halloween based, I don't know if you remember or not, and I believe there's even a video on YouTube where you can find it, but it was Cartoon Fridays, like during their like Halloween specials. Um, it would be like those quick little breaks where you see like a bunch of these characters from different series dressed up as one another. Like Ed from Ed and Eddie was dressed up as Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, I remember
Johnny
that.
Bravo was dressed as I think it was the the bamboo guy, the not bamboo. You remember I Am Weasel?
Yes, I do.
His friend. I think it was Baboon. I
Oh
think
my
his friend was
gosh.
Baboon. But basically, what I'm saying is Johnny Bravo was dressed as him, and
I
like all
uh
these other characters.
I'm just trying to picture that, and I'm just like, uh, uh, I I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like this little thing that they did during like the big commercial breaks or whatever, where they just do where they actually like felt like they put in the effort to
Hmm.
celebrate like the holiday, knowing that kids love this stuff, and I just kind of appreciate one of those things that they did back then versus what they don't really do now, or at least put in as much effort. It feels like.
Right. Yeah, you definitely missed out on that, Drew. You missed the
Oh
boat.
man.
I mean, like, you know, and part of that too, at least for like right now, is the fact that like we have, as a culture, just gravitated towards streaming now. So like that's just not. It's really kind of like a thing of the
Yeah.
past. Like the only other modern thing that I can think of that had a similar kind of feel to that was I don't know if you guys remember during like I think it was the Super Bowl this year during this season, when CBS All Access was switching over to Paramount Plus. They had commercials where like they had like some of like the various um human and cartoon characters from like the Paramount umbrella all meeting at the top of Mount Everest for whatever reason.
Oh yeah,
Um
no, that commercial was kind of gas. I remember that. And
like
they had like everyone. I think it was like Tom and Jerry. I think even.
yeah, I
Am
think
I
they had
tripping?
Tom and Jerry. It's possible. I know they had like Dora the Explorer and SpongeBob too, I believe. They had Stephen
Yeah,
Colbert, they had James Corden. Um did they have RuPaul? They might have had RuPaul.
it was
Um
like mad famous. I actually remember that.
yeah, like they all the various people from like the various sub networks of Paramount were part of that. Like that's one of the only like modern examples that I can think of, because they just don't interact as much anymore. And I think you know it's probably partly due to licensing and whatnot. Because by all means, like back in the day with Cartoon Network, they could do that because it was all part of that same studio, like the Hanna-Barbera studios for cartoons. Yeah, they had like other stuff that wasn't necessarily directly under that umbrella, but they were all made by Cartoon Network. Like they weren't like the random Canadian television shows that were licensed for Cartoon Network to air, like 16 or Total Drama Island or stuff like that. But yeah, that era,
King was gas. I remember that too.
That era was just, in general, just fantastic. But like, and I think based on like what we were saying with the care and whatnot that went into it, that definitely factored into like the Halloween special creations that were made during that time. Like that the fact that they went that extra distance to make these Halloween specials, something great. Not that everything had Halloween specials, because some of them just were spooky shows to begin with. Like, I mean, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Courage the Cowardly Dog were all about horror. Like, Grim Adventures obviously leaned into the comedy side of horror, but then Courage the Cowardly Dog was just literally nightmare fuel on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's I was one of those kids that I did enjoy Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like, I know there were a lot of people that were just like really frightened by it, and it's ironic in a way, because I absolutely hated horror movies growing up as a child. I would get nightmares just from looking at the oh my, this is gonna date me, but just looking at the backs of the VHS tape boxes at a Blockbuster rental.
Lord.
I was that much of just a little baby that like I would get scared and have nightmares because of my imagination from looking at the back of a movie box. And yet here I was, absolutely fine watching Courage the Cowardly Dog, when you have other people that are freaking out over a CGI mummy man telling Courage to return the slab.
Right.
Yeah, people went crazy over that. I wasn't even a huge Courage the Cowardly Dog type fan, or I didn't watch too many episodes, but I remember people like said it scared them like shitless. I was like, I mean, at 8 years old, I could see that. It was definitely a wild time.
For me, something like Courage, it was like, Axel, we're pretty much in the same boat. I wasn't the biggest fan of horror movies, especially as a kid growing up. But Courage was one of those things where it was like, okay, I can feel kind of the terror this is supposed to be giving me, like, but I can't stop watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those like I was so focused on the entertainment rather than like, man, this is some pretty horrifying stuff I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, like, the Courage the Cowardly Dog had a sliding scale of like how terrifying it was. Like, you had some episodes that were insanely scary, and then you had other ones that were just goofy as hell. I mean, like, there was an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where Eustace had a kangaroo dinosaur bone implanted in his body, and he became a giant kangaroo monster, and then Courage did the same thing, and like, again, goofy as hell. And then you have like episodes with like, Return the Slab, or like the pilot episode with the space chicken that turned Eustace into a space chicken. Like, that was like all kinds of like creepy body horror, like
Yep.
Nightmare fuel.
It was like, oh my gosh, like it's absolutely amazing, honestly, that some of those things made it onto the network at the time. Like, but at the same time, again, completely different era of television and cartoons. There are so many inside jokes, dirty jokes, like mature themes that made it into cartoons and television at that time. It would never happen today. Never happen today.
Like, whenever I think of that, I always think of like Dexter's Laboratory. like Dexter's mom, even all that stuff. That's kind of crazy, basically. Like,
More intense one, and I'm saying this because I just watched the Halloween episode for it today. Cow and chicken.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh
that
my
was crazy
god.
too.
The stuff
I
with
did
cow and
not
chicken.
realize. I did not realize as a kid the amount of adult jokes in there, and then when I went back and watched like some episodes when I got older, I was like, wow. And then I went back and saw the Halloween episode today, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like cow and chicken was a big one. I mean, like in the same vein, so was I Am Weasel. Like they had these jokes, and it's just like, oh my god, what? Like you would have there would be overprotective parents today that would just go insane, like thinking, oh my gosh, my child is exposed to this. And it's just like us '90s kids were just like, ha, this is funny. It like
Right.
not even know, like, and obviously like some kids would know, some kids like had like older siblings or whatnot that'd be like, hey, you know what this means, and then like you would find out. But like, oh my god, the writing and whatnot, like it's so insane looking back on that stuff. Again, other network, like the stuff like on Rugrats, like the stuff that was written into Rugrats, a show
man,
about babies.
Oh yeah,
The
Yeah.
lonely space vexens.
Mm-hmm.
the whole Rugrats was kind of wild
The
too.
stuff that Grandpa was watching and what, and God, I still question
man.
to this day, because I can't remember and I haven't been bothered to go back and watch. But the meme that goes around of Grandpa, who is just like, son, you really don't know what a game of Russian roulette is like, do you? I question, is like, was that in the Rugrats, or was that, was that just a meme? Like, because some of Rugrats was such a fever dream that it could have been either or. Honestly, like, and again, the same is true on the Cartoon Network side of things, like Cow and Chicken being one of them. Like the the fact that Cow did all of the things that Cow did, just and the fact that they had a naked devil man as well, just being a naked devil man, and like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like just a giant red ass constantly on screen. And I mean, same with baboon, but like a baboon is one thing and a fat naked devil man is another thing. And sometimes he wore clothes, but not a lot of the time. A lot of the time he was naked.
Right. You go Google search the guy, you're probably gonna find that before anything.
Yeah, probably. Like, oh my god, it's just the things that they put on back then were crazy. But I need to go back and watch the Cow and Chicken
It's a river of
special.
nostalgia, man. It's a river of nostalgia.
It is, and like, so
Yeah.
I will say that I am incredibly thankful right now that a lot of this stuff is streamable. Like, there is a lot of stuff that is available either on HBO Max right now, or Amazon Prime Video just included a Boomerang channel on their streaming service. It's another one of those ones where you have to like pay extra a month to add it. Like,
Okay, I didn't know that.
so like it's like $5 a month for like the Boomerang channel, but the Boomerang channel has some things that like the HBO Max side of things doesn't have.
Wait, is the Boomerang channel similar to like when you were a kid and like Boomerang had all the like the classic cartoons and stuff like that?
Yes. So on top of that, like at least for the Amazon Prime Video one, it has certain things from like the older Hanna-Barbera era, and then
Yeah.
some of the stuff from the cartoon era, because again, they were made by the same studio. They were made by the Hanna-Barbera studio while Cartoon Network still had the contract with them. So that's why, like, if you watched Boomerang while it was still on TV, sometimes you would get the stuff like Flintstones, Jetsons, Yogi Bear, but then sometimes you would also get Dexter's Lab or Johnny Bravo, or other cartoons like that. So
Yeah.
there are on the Boomerang channel on Amazon Prime Video, there are examples of both. So like,
Cause like, yeah.
mhm.
Oh, my fault.
No, you're good. They
I was just, yeah, yeah.
no go go ahead.
My fault. I was just gonna say like, because like nowadays you have like, like I have Hulu, Netflix, all these joints, and it's like it's cool. Like Hulu specifically, you can watch a lot of OG cartoons on Hulu. It's just to me, it's just not the same. I don't know. It's just something about like going to a channel and watching all these old, like watching in like an hour or 2 hour span, watching like 3 or 4 different shows. Sure, it's not like it's not the most efficient way to watch a TV show, whatever. But it's just like I don't know, just that feeling of nostalgia where you're like, so you're watching multiple different, you're experiencing different shows in like such a short amount of time. I don't know. It's just hard to rewatch shows besides doing it that way for me.
No, I absolutely hear you there. It was all it was the atmosphere of it all. Like the fact that you would have um your cartoons, and then during the commercial breaks, you would have commercials that were actually interesting to you as a kid. Like, I think that played a big part into it. And again, at least on the Cartoon Network side of things, like we had already previously mentioned, Cartoon Network had like the Cartoon Network specific bumpers in between breaks and whatnot. So like even though you were in a commercial break, you were still experiencing Cartoon Network
Yeah.
with the various commercials, ads, and whatnot that they had. I will also say, so funny thing, I don't know if you guys ever knew about this, but speaking of Cartoon Network commercials, there was this one point in time on Nickelodeon where they just kind of opened up the floodgates and kind of allowed anybody to put in ads, and Cartoon Network
Yep.
Oh my
bought up an
god.
ad.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
And like
Go
they
for it.
had various Cartoon Network characters on there, and they're like, "We don't have time. We don't have time." And it's like, you guys should go watch Cartoon Network." And they're in front of like this orange background, just again to
Yep.
just like add insult to injury. And like Double D is on there like saying like,
Yep.
"Oh my god, we only have so much time, guys. We can't do this for long." Like Johnny Bravo is just like, "Ho ho ho!
Right,
Look at my
there you
hair.
go.
I'm looking so good." And it's just like, oh, like again, it's just I think that goes into what you were saying, Drew, is that like it was an experience back in the day. There were other things that added to the experience. Like, no, was it as
Exactly, yeah.
efficient as it is now? Absolutely not. Like the fact that you can watch like 3 shows in the span of like an hour compared to how it used to be, like where you would watch 3 cartoons in the span of an hour and a half, it's not as efficient. But it was just it was a whole package, and it was an experience, like a fun thing to experience. Like today, you don't get that the same. Like
Yeah,
you
it's just not. I don't know. To me, like I feel like it makes shows super. Even I mean, we're not talking about anime, but even I think anime is the kind of same way. Like like now people are trying to really like. Maybe it's because we have so much more, responsibilities and stuff, but you don't really have time to just sit down and like go spend 2 or 3 hours watching like 4 or 5 different shows. Like you're watching you're marathoning one series, like whatever it is, and you're just trying to get it done. Whereas when we're younger, it's just like you're just happy to be there. You're going through like you say Courage the Cowardly Dog. You're going through Dexter's Laboratory. Like in like a 2 hour span, you watch about like 4 or 5 shows. It's just I don't. It's just a feeling. I don't know.
no
You know what I'm
no
saying?
no I completely understand. So like that is something. So in this same vein here, Toonami, like there is a
Ooh, we talked about Mom,
difference.
yeah.
There is a difference between modern Toonami and Toonami from the golden age,
Yep.
when
Yep.
it
Yep. Yep.
was airing
Sure.
Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 Central Standard Time. Again,
Absolutely.
that was part of the experience. So you had it where, with Toonami back during that time, in between episodes of anime or cartoons, depending on what part of the Toonami block you were watching, you had commentary or like specially crafted videos, bumpers, whatever, featuring either Moltar or Tom that incorporated clips from the various anime, and either promoted those anime or used those clips to make like inspirational videos for kids to watch. Like it again was just part of the experience. Like you're watching Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z, and like in between commercials you've got like this robot sitting in a space, like a spaceship, telling you about like how it's cool to be different and like being yourself, while frickin' Goku is like firing off a shot at Frieza or Vegeta or something. Like it was just like it's so cool, and
It was such a different time, man.
it was part of the experience. It's so, oh my god, it was one of those things where you had to be there to experience it like it was. And I'm not saying that like Toonami doesn't still have that. They still have that to an extent, and they still have, you know, certain events and whatnot that they have. But the midnight run of Toonami is not the same as the weekday, like, kids coming home from school block of Toonami from back in the day. It's like that era of television is just sadly gone. But it would be the coolest thing to have that back again. Like, I mean, could you imagine, again, going back to the whole thing of efficiency versus experience? And I realize we are very much on a tangent from Halloween specials,
Yes,
but that is
sir.
okay.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, if Crunchyroll and or Funimation just had like a streaming channel option where like they curated particular episodes of anime or whatnot, but then had breaks to promote certain things, have like specific content that related back to what they were airing, but again, adding to the experience. Like, that would be such a cool thing to see. It would like bring back a level of like humanism to the streaming services side of things. Again, they wouldn't do it because that's putting in more time, effort, and resources into something when they can just upload stuff online. But it would be the coolest thing to have that. Like, and I
feel like it would sell more too. Like you could have that as an option. Like you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like how it's kind of like Hulu. You can watch a series from beginning to end. You could also have like a channel thing where it kind of takes an episode from like, you could even pick a category. You could be like cartoons, right? And it just takes like all the cartoons from all, like, you know, all the the franchise that they have, and then just take an episode, a random episode, and just like throw it on a channel. I'm saying, and you could even like, it'd be like 30-minute slots, and you know, obviously since it's like a streaming service, you could skip around a little bit too. I think that'd be kind of fire. They don't want the bread, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like, again, resources, time, and efficiency versus just bottom line.
What they're doing now.
Yeah, so it's I would absolutely love something for like to happen like that in the future. Because again, and that they could obviously generate more money from that by having ads and whatnot in that space. But yeah, it is what it is. It's just an unfortunate thing of we're just not in that time period anymore. That's just not how it is. But that being said, I think we should definitely jump back into the actual Halloween special side of things. I talking about like the actual Cartoon Network specific stuff before we like jump into like some of the other things. I was always, I think, the biggest fan of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I think that was like my go-to show on Cartoon Network, and like I love that they also had like specific Halloween specials as well. And like I did check. So at least on like HBO Max, they did have the Jacked Up Halloween special and the Wrath of the Spider Queen split up in the two. They didn't have the Underfist special, which is what upsets me the most, because the Underfist special I loved with a passion. And something a lot of people don't know about me, because this was like pre really getting into YouTube. I actually did a very like closet level cosplay of Hoss Delgado from the Underfist movie.
Oh,
Like I had an orange wig, I had an eye patch. I made like the Underfist top, and I had a really cheapo like laser sword thing for a hand. The best part though was that I did have my own version of Kyle the safety cone, who was Hoss Delgado's like sworn enemy from the series. I had Kyle the safety cone with a chain wrapped around the cone, and I was carrying him around the convention, and like I still have Kyle the cone with me today. He's actually sitting in my car because I never brought him inside because I'm still trying to move. But yeah, I loved the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I loved the Underfist special, and I'm really disappointed that that didn't become a TV series in and of itself, because the Underfist special was actually supposed to be a backdoor pilot for it as well, but it came out kind of when the cartoon era was ending. So like
Yeah.
not Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network was cutting a lot of their ties and just making or licensing new content at that time, and I'm just like, I wanted more Hoss Delgado content. But
I think that was right before we started transitioning into the live action phase.
oh my god,
yeah, that was like early 2000s, bro. Now, we gotta come clean though. The 2000s was kind of flames. That live action Cartoon Network saga that Cartoon Network wanted to do for some reason, like Destroy Build Destroy. I remember that.
Yeah, that was all. That was all. I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly, roughly like 2007ish to like early 2010ish, before the Renaissance era started.
I actually want to say it was 2004 onwards.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, really?
Sorry, no. So it was back in 2003. Or no. It was either 2003 or 2004. Where they were trying to rebrand and get some of like the live action stuff in, from what I'm seeing. And just no,
Okay,
bad time.
I could have sworn. No, I think I was thinking of 2007 to 10, and I promise I'm not going to stay on this tangent long. Only because I remember that at one point there was a time where it was just like a really dark time for Cartoon Network, where it was like most of everything you saw was probably live action, and it just was not doing the job.
They were putting live action shows on a network called Cartoon Network.
It was that was a time to be alive for sure.
So I think so. What they were trying to do at that time, they were trying to compete with Nickelodeon and Disney, like, because in that time period was absolutely the renaissance for Nickelodeon and its live sitcoms.
Right.
Because like that was like the Drake and Josh era of Nickelodeon.
iCarly, stuff like that.
Yeah. So like I think that was what Cartoon Network was trying to do. They were trying to compete with the live action aspects of Nickelodeon and the Disney Channel. It just was not a success. Like, people specifically wanted Cartoon Network for its cartoons.
Copycat League.
Yeah. And like, not that the cartoons in that time period were bad, because you still had some very good cartoons in that time. Like Codename Kids Next Door was like a holdover until 2008. Ed and Eddie was still around until 2009. And like you had like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends during that time. Like there was Camp Lazlo, Chowder, which I'm still upset that Chowder had as short of a run as it did, because Chowder was comedy gold, which in and of itself is a joke for Chowder. But like, it's upsetting that like they thought that time period was okay to try
to do live action.
Try live action. It was not good. It was not good. So I'm glad that they learned from the error of their ways and like cut ties with that as soon as they did, because yeah, it was a dark time. Absolutely dark time. And
You said, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was about to say, because I didn't know if you want to reel back to the previous discussion when you were talking about like how Billy and Mandy was like your go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was definitely one of my go-tos. I would say in terms of Halloween specials, like amongst all the cartoons on Cartoon Network Halloween specials, I would probably say it has the best one, or like at least my personal favorite when it comes to Halloween, with the Jacked Up Halloween special.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just really appreciated that because like I'm like even as a kid I was a big fan of like lore and stuff like that. So just getting some kind of information on Grimm's background or like his past and how like that transitioned into the villain of the special, and even just the whole myth of like headless pumpkin men,
Mm-hmm.
and how Grimm is in some way the cause of the trick side of trick or treating for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was all fantastic and how that was done.
Absolutely. I mean, like when it comes to Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, that series knew how to do lore right and knew how to just intertwine it into its series, and just make it feel right. Like the fact that you could go like all these seasons long, and then like you get to like, for example, the Spider Queen series, and you're just like, oh, there's this giant spider lady that has a vendetta against Grimm because she was trying to be the Grim Reaper herself, and like fought off Boogie, who has his own lore in the series, and then was trying to get with Jeff, Billy's spider son, which
Yep.
oh my Jeff, why won't you love me, Dad? I'll love you when you're dead. Oh my god. So the Jacked Up Halloween special, I definitely agree, is one of the ones that is up there for me. The other two, again, specifically like Cartoon Network specials that are also up there for me would be Ed, Edd n Eddy's Boo Ha Ha.
Yes.
Where Ed has watched
That's my
so many
second.
horror like movies where like he is like fantasizing that like he is like all the people from the cul-de-sac are monsters and whatnot, and he's fighting them off. That one is great.
Yep, that's my second favorite.
The other one that I actually really love is the Johnny Bravo Halloween special where he crossed over with
was that?
Scooby-Doo.
I didn't even know that was a Halloween special. Wow.
I think it was a Halloween special. I mean, even if it wasn't, obviously, like crossing over with Scooby Doo, you've got like the scary
That means,
aspect of it.
any crossover Scooby Doo is definitely a Halloween special.
But like,
Technically,
I honestly, yes, like there were so many blurred lines for Cartoon Network shows. Like they're just like, hey, let's just make it spooky. Okay, we'll air it during Halloween again, but we can also air it whenever we want. Okay, like
yeah, Scooby Doo
made it super. Yeah, well, Scooby Doo is like just a whenever you want series. Like, yes, there are like specific movies that are more Halloween based. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I loved the Johnny Bravo one because he's just trying to hit on Daphne the entire time, but like Velma's interested in him, and like he keeps getting split up and added to like Scooby and Shaggy's group. But I also love like the scene where like he and Velma both lose their glasses, and Velma's just like, my glasses, I can't see without my glasses, and Johnny's like, my glasses, I can't be seen without my glasses, and it's just like, oh my god. It's
And if I remember correctly, didn't they put each other's glasses on?
yes, they did after that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a gag for sure.
Yes. But again, it lends to the fact that that was a time when they weren't afraid to put their characters in other cartoons. I mean,
Series?
like
Yeah,
Hanna-Barbera
first
did
class.
that all the freaking time in like the golden age of like Hanna-Barbera. Like I mean, like they had it constantly where Yogi Bear and Hasselberry Hound and Scooby-Doo and all these other characters would like come together for things like the Laugh Olympics or like a Christmas special or whatever. And then they played into that too with like the current series on HBO Max, which is like super gag heavy, and I need to watch it. Like it's uh Jellystone. Like they leaned back into those roots again, and they did that too with like Scoob, like the latest CGI Scooby Doo movie with Zac Efron as Fred for
Wait, when
whatever
did that
reason.
come out? Because I feel like you see like a new Scooby Doo thing every year. Was that how
So
recently is that?
Scoob came out at like the beginning of the pandemic, because Scoob
Yeah,
was like
I don't think I watched it
Scoob was one of the 2 flagship series that tried debuting on streaming rather than movies. It was that and Trolls World Tour were like the 2 first ones like that were testing the waters of like stream on demand right away. But that was another one where like they were trying to introduce like a larger Hanna-Barbera universe from the get-go. But like Cartoon Network in the cartoons days had it like I said, where you could have Johnny Bravo crossing over with Scooby-Doo. You had it where codename Kids Next Door would show up in the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. It was just a great time, an absolutely great time. Again, I know we're just just oozing with nostalgia about this, but again, it was just such a great time.
It was a golden age. It was
You had
like,
to be there. You had to be there.
For the most part. Now,
yeah, for the most part.
Bad.
It's one of those things where like certain stuff is streamable now. So like
Yeah.
with the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, for instance, seasons 1 through 6 are available on HBO Max. The Jacked Up Halloween special is in one of the seasons, and the Wrath of the Spider Queen is broken up into 2 parts and is on HBO Max as well in one of the seasons. Courage the Cowardly Dog is on HBO Max and the Boomerang on Prime Video. Codename Kids Next Door, same thing, HBO Max and Boomerang on Prime Video. You've got a large selection of Scooby-Doo stuff on HBO Max, but the ones that matter are on Boomerang on Prime Video. And again, we'll go over that later. But I wanna end things on the Scooby-Doo side of things, because I mean, like, we need to talk about the other Halloween specials that are synonymous with Cartoon Network but weren't technically Cartoon Network shows. And I'm trying to think. Ed, Edd n Eddy is on HBO Max, but I could not find the Boo Ha Ha episode, and I'm very disappointed that I couldn't find that.
Yeah, I had to go online for that one.
Yeah, I will say, HBO Max also has a section called Spooky Season, where they've like handpicked certain scary episodes from like Courage the Cowardly Dog and some of the other cartoons that are on there, especially some of like the modern ones. They've got like scary episodes and whatnot for. But it is nice to know that at least for a lot of these, you can either find them on HBO Max or on Boomerang on Prime Video, which I will also say on that note, for the Boomerang on Prime Video, you can get a 7-day trial free. So if you time it right, you can watch all of the Halloween specials that you want to watch, like on a weekend or something, and not pay for it. As long as you remember to cancel it before you charge.
Right.
But I mean, even then, it's $5. Like, I think we can all spare $5 for a month. I'd like to
Depends.
think.
It's not a pandemic. It depends.
Oh,
Hopefully,
I guess, but I would like to hope that people are on the rebound at this point at least. But again, I got everybody's circumstances are, not the same. Before we move on, any other last comments on like at least the Cartoon Network specific like Halloween specials from like the cartoon stuff from either of you guys.
Yeah. So like earlier you said Billy and Mandy was always your go-to. Mine was a Codename Kids Next Door,
Mm-hmm.
and it was my favorite. But it's unfortunate to say that it's probably, in terms of Halloween's episodes, probably my least favorite. But also, I still really like it because my favorite character was like the star of the episode, where he takes the candy from Sticky Beard, the candy pirates, and them. And them. I think that was a pretty cool episode. And one more is if you remember, and this was after the cartoon era, but Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends,
Oh yeah.
where they had a Halloween episode too with like their whole little zombie thing to scare Blue because he kept pulling pranks on them and all that.
Mm-hmm. Which I will say, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is also on HBO Max. I did see that. And I'm very happy to also say that Good Will Hunting Parts 1 and 2 are included in that. And I would be very disappointed if that movie wasn't included because that is such a feel-good movie. But I can totally relate to Foster's and Codename Kids Next Door being also go-to series. I really enjoyed Codename Kid Next Door's Christmas special where they made fun of the X-Men though. Like the fact that like they had like this short elf with like candy cane claws like that was supposed to be Wolverine. Like
Oh yeah, that's probably my favorite Christmas special of any cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite just because of those references.
Yeah, but I mean, at the very least, Codename Kid Next Door had absolutely fantastic episodes and also like not like Halloween specific, but it did have one of the best TV movies in my opinion, which was the
Operation Zero.
Yes. Oh
Yes.
my god. Operation Zero was amazing.
Amazing.
Drew,
Just
are you familiar with Operation Zero or no?
No, I'm obviously familiar with Codename Kids Next Door, but I don't know exactly what Operation Zero is.
Okay,
At least I don't remember.
Oh my god.
Eden's, I'll let you give a synopsis of it. Yeah.
I bet.
All right. So, how do I shorten this? So basically, it's about we find out that there was this legendary character in the world of Kids Next Door, and he went by the code name Number Zero.
Oh, okay. Nigel's father.
Right.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you
there
do
go.
know.
Yeah, like that's just saying. I'm in and out. You know what I'm saying? It comes.
There
back.
you go. Okay, that's the big. That was the big thing about it all. Like when that happened in the movie, that changed everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't was it Norm Macdonald that was the no, it was some other no, it was Maurice LaMarche. Maurice LaMarche played father. And like oh my the fact that the way he interacted with grandfather in that movie.
Great. It was great.
It just oh my god. Again, it was a different time. Like the cartoons I genuinely hope that there are people that like if you didn't experience it during that time, you go out and you check out these streaming services and you check out these cartoons at the time because there are a lot of them that did age well. And that can't be said for all cartoons. But I think that can be said for things like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. It can be said for Ed, Edd n Eddy. It can be said for Codename Kids Next Door, etc., etc., etc. These are all cartoons where like they are timeless. Yes, there might be a few things here and there that are a little dated, but the writers knew what they were doing to make cartoons that could be enjoyed for years to come. So I really can't I can't recommend it enough for people to check them out, regardless of whether you watch the Halloween specials or not. Watch these cartoons because they were something else. Like you don't have to be anime elitists at this point in your life. You don't have to be like anime is the only thing that matters. You can watch cartoons. Yeah, it's okay.
Watch cartoons. Anime friendly cartoons. I know that's gonna strike a few chords, but
how dare
technically,
you? How dare you?
You're stepping on a lot of toes there.
Oh my god!
I know. They're probably knocking on my door now, but it might be a fact. I gotta be honest.
Oh my god! It's anyway. Moving away from the elitist stuff. Drew, did you have anything else before we moved away from the cartoon side of Halloween specials and whatnot?
I'll pretty much just say like I don't like remember like, oh yeah, this was my favorite Halloween cartoon. But obviously I watched mad cartoons. It was just a matter of like I never really picked like, oh yeah, this was mine. I feel like Christmas ones were easier to spot. I feel like every cartoon was like there's always a yeah, Halloween they did do it too. But like I feel like Christmas for me with cartoon wise was like, oh yeah, every cartoon I can point to the Christmas one. That's kind of how I was. So
Mm-hmm. No, that's entirely relatable. Like they're like more often than not, you did have a Christmas special for various things compared to Halloween. So like again, going like to the other network side of things, like for Fairly Odd Parents, they had more Christmas specials than they did Halloween ones. But
oh yeah,
the
Fairly Odd
Halloween
Parents, like,
special that they
yeah.
did have was pretty damn awesome with
Yep.
everybody
Which one
turning
was
into
that?
their costumes.
Yep, that was
There's
that
so
was
many
great.
Fairly Odd Parents episodes. Hold on, keep going.
So the Halloween special for Fairly Odd Parents had it where like Timmy was just like, oh man, I have to wear toilet paper and be a mummy while all these other people have these cool costumes, especially the rich kids who bought the limited edition, one of a kind, like gemstone variations of like these pumpkin costumes from I believe it was a Crash Nebula cartoon. Yep.
Yeah, Crash Nebula.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, oh man, I wish everybody had like the costumes that they were. And so like the rich kids turned into the actual pumpkin monsters and like were going to
Yeah, I think I
fuse
remember
into
that.
like the giant pumpkin robot thing, and Timmy got like thrown into the box of discarded things, and like that was a really great Halloween special. But at the same time, you have a lot of people that also remember like the more Christmas side of things for Fairly Odd Parents, like the very obvious wish of I wish every day was Christmas, Christmas special for Fairly Odd Parents, where like all the fairies couldn't use their magic because Santa needs it for like the one day of the year, but like if it every day is Christmas and he's just running on like fumes and
Yeah, feels he just
so
Timmy had some terrible wishes. That's just like when watching Timmy Turner like as a, like even I wouldn't even say it as an adult, even like the last like 6 years. You just watching you be seeing the wish is like I know you're a kid, but it's like bro, even in the moment you're like this is a bad wish, but yeah, it's a fun time
I will
but
say,
that's
I will
the
say this.
plot.
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
And the whole thing with Timmy, it was just always it was just always like on paper the wishes are really good, but you're not detail. You don't ever like go into enough detail
Yeah.
to stop it from backfiring on
That's
you.
what I'm saying. It's like you're not like because there was like obviously if you watched Fair Odd Parents, there's like the genie. There's like a genie
Which
where
was
you
Norm
have, like,
Macdonald. This one
Yeah,
was
Norm, yeah,
Norm.
exactly.
Yeah.
well you have like 3 wishes and like those wishes can be pretty much anything I think, but like if you're not certain you'll get your words misconstrued it, and it's like
Yeah.
fairies aren't that powerful and you still like you just got like Timmy just I feel like he just got to spend like 5 minutes on your wish and make it not trash. It'd be like wish something like I don't know, I can't give examples of how crazy his wishes would be bad though.
I mean, let's be honest, Timmy was also an idiot. He got an F
Yeah, no,
on
Timmy was
every
an idiot.
freaking test that came his way. Like, don't get me wrong, Denzel Crocker was a very mad teacher who tried to make things hard for everybody, but like Timmy was dumber than a box of rocks. And that lent into the plot of, him having wishes that would easily backfire. But it's yeah, Fairly Odd Parents was another one of those shows that was at least better when it started, before Butch Hartman went crazy. But that's another story for another
Is
time.
another story for another day. for
Absolutely.
sure.
I mean, come on, like, what are you guys talking about? The Oaxis network is totally the revolutionary streaming service that everybody is waiting for, and it's in no way fueled by Christian undertones.
Oh
man.
man,
It is.
I'm just trying to think.
You
I'm just
don't
thinking of,
worry
like-
about it, Drew. You don't want to know.
Bad,
Oh
bad.
yeah, no. Trust me, you don't want to dive into that whole
Butch Hartman
conversation.
rabbit hole. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But The cartoon thing is just like I know we were talking about Cartoon Network, but I'm just thinking of like all of like the Halloween specials over the years from like
Yeah.
the different networks, like
Yeah, I was thinking of like Danny Phantom and American
um
Dragon Jake Long if they had
I
any.
know, yeah, like the second network that comes to mind in terms of Halloween specials, is probably Nickelodeon because of like
Absolutely.
the great content they had back
Yeah.
in the late '90s to the early 2000s. Like I'd say one of my personal favorites from those in terms of Halloween specials was the Hey Arnold one. If you remember Axel,
Yes.
if you
Uh-huh.
do too as well, Drew, where the kids decided to dress up as aliens, but the makeup was so good that it just wasn't washing off, and that they were confused to be real aliens, and it was a prank gone wrong basically. It was a prank gone wrong, and it was about to be really bad for them.
Mm-hmm. No, again, it was just that time. Like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network were on their A game at that time. They had absolutely
Yeah.
great people making great cartoons during that time. Like even like back like OG SpongeBob. Like when you had like the first Halloween like episode of SpongeBob with like the Flying Dutchman or whatnot, and
Yeah.
then like
Yep.
you saw like SpongeBob's sheet get taken off, um, his wooden clogs. As
Oh,
a
yeah.
this Dutch ghost, and then like you see underneath, and SpongeBob his entire spongy body has been shaved off, and it's just his eyes, nose, mouth, in his brain underneath the sheet.
I remember that.
Like it was just a different time. Like and like the Halloween specials were great, and like not that there aren't like decent Halloween inspired stuff nowadays. There are, but like it's not like that is something that can be broadly said across all cartoons. Like
Right.
it's more of a exceptions to the rule rather than the norm at this point. But there are good ones out there. Or just spooky cartoons in general. That's good. I'm okay with that. I like my spooky cartoons. So
Yeah. In moderation, of course.
I'm fine
I know
getting,
that's not a
more
popular
than
take.
moderation. It depends on the level. I mean, like, no, I can't necessarily watch things that like are going at a 10 constantly, like
Yeah,
one
just
after the other
nightmare.
after the other,
Yeah.
right? Because oh my, there is some nightmare fuel in certain cartoons. Like there's absolutely nightmare fuel in cartoons like Adventure Time, in Infinity Train, or even frickin' Steven Universe. There is nightmare fuel level things in all of those cartoons.
Yeah.
Even regular show
I wanted
too.
to add. I wanted to add. I'm eventually. I'm working on like a different channel to where I can specifically talk about like other things like non really anime related, like a lot of cartoon based because I just really love cartoons and all that other kind of stuff. So it's like
Sure.
I wanted to just talk about all those kinds of things that you're bringing up right now, Axel. Like the ideas are just running through my head right now.
You definitely have some competition out there, though. I will say that there are some very big names in the cartoon space, but
Yeah.
you can definitely make it work if you work the nostalgia just right. That is for sure. It's because I mean
Yeah.
like I think we've all been there where we're on YouTube or something and we're like, oh, I'm going to randomly search for this thing that I remember, and then all of a sudden you're in a nostalgia loop for like 2 hours or more.
Yeah. For me, it's like theme songs. If I go like I can get lost in like theme songs, OSTs,
Yup.
cartoons. Like, yeah, you
Yup.
just get down the rabbit hole.
Absolutely. I have spent several hours, several days just rewatching openings, theme songs, from the 90s, 2000s, anime, whatever. Just and you just get stuck, and you just like all of a sudden it's just like, oh, 3 hours have passed. Okay, time for one more hour. It's just it's a rabbit
Yes,
hole.
sir.
But you can definitely make it work. It's as long as you got good topics and you got a good conversation going. Yeah, you could definitely make people enjoy watching more content on cartoons. So But yeah,